Hi everyone, my name is Dan Meyer. I'm an accountant representative here at Electric Paper. Today I have the opportunity to talk to Lars Riemenschneider.
Hey Dan.
Hi Lars. Lars is the founder of Electric Paper, and in order to hear about M-Files and specifically about M-Files process maps. Lars, Electric Paper, or as we call it, API, is the leading German M-Files partner. Together with the colleagues, you've implemented numerous M-Files installations. M-Files for itself is already a powerful tool. Can you tell us why the add-on was implemented? And also, what were the drivers behind the idea to implement add-ons generally?
Well, we are an M-Files partner since 2015, and we implemented quality management solutions mostly, and one of the aspects of quality documentation is documenting processes. So there is actually the first connection point, and in my former career I also had a lot of interaction with tools like Visio or PowerPoint, and so I connected the dots and thought, well, couldn't we combine the two worlds in a nice way? And that was process documentation. It was actually the driver of the first use case that we had in mind to create an add-on or add-in that works inside of the M-Files architecture to draw and design processes, in a Visio-like manner, if you would like to call it that. And that was the original idea.
Okay. So you mentioned process documentation as one of the use cases. And you just mentioned also Visio, PowerPoint, Word for that purpose. And most people, I think, use probably Office tools for this. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, using process documentation, or using Word or Excel, PowerPoint for process documentation works somehow. The problem with that is that you kind of lock up the process and the aspect of documentation inside a document, which you then store inside a vault. So it's kind of pretty far away from people to actually work with it. And M-Files has this beautiful concept of metadata-driven organization about everything. So your document, your process, your department, your machinery, whatever, everything is stored in M-Files in a revision-safe manner using metadata. And what was missing was a way to visualize and use this metadata in a way that it works right within process documentation and visual guidance way. So as you ask, couldn't you use Office? Yes, you could. And M-Files shows you Word documents in the preview. Yes, you could do that, but you are lacking any type of interaction. So it's a dead document, and that's what we want to do different. We want interaction. We want people to give them the ability to navigate from one process, from a main process to a sub process to a sub process, and back and forth, and that way, giving access to the right information at the right time. And getting away from paper-based quality manuals, that to just collect the dust when you put it on the board, right? So that's what was driving it originally.
Some great news for all the people out there. Process Maps now available as a 2.0 version.
Yep.
Can you briefly outline the history? I met some of the guys downstairs, some of our colleagues, who were involved in the development. And they're quite busy during the COVID crisis. Do you have a few words about that?
Oh yeah. Well, as I said, since 2015, we were doing that, and we thought this is a cool idea, and COVID gave us the opportunity to spend a lot of time on one topic and go very, very deep. So we actually overhauled the whole product. So re-architectured it from ground up. And so version 2.0 is an understatement. Actually, 1.5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, each of those could have been a version for its own. But COVID gave us really the opportunity to spend thousands of hours on that topic, and that led really to a quantum leap, so to speak, for version 2.0.
I'm excited to see something about it in a few minutes.
I will show you something.
Already am. So, as I understand, the 2.0 version is on a whole new level. You just described it. The marketing people here at EPI told me that the new version is positioned differently. Lars, what is the new positioning and why is it so important?
Well, we were coming from process documentation, and the new positioning with all the work that we put into version 2.0 gave us the idea to add two additional pillars, so to speak. So process documentation is one aspect, and two new aspects are coming now into the product. One is what we call job aids along the way. So providing help and interaction when people need it. So when you are in a specific view of M files, a map can be shown as a complementary help, and the third pillar are the so-called workload charts, workload charts, workload dashboard. So those are the three pillars, and in terms of positioning, we said process maps is the add-on for the visual thinkers. So people like our marketing people downstairs, they like to draw on a whiteboard and they love to interact with people or use meta-plan technique.
I myself, I'm a visual learner.
You like that too, right?
Absolutely.
So people like that enjoy a visual way of working with information, and that is what process maps adds to M-files, because M-files in the first place is lines and columns and a super smart metadata card and search-driven interface. Super smart concept, but it is lines and columns at the end of the day.
It is.
And when you want a different representation of the data in terms of a chart or a funnel or things like that, that's what you can do with process maps, for example.
I can feel the energy coming over from you and your enthusiasm about it. So what are the modules and what is the solution? And can I use a solution with any vault? Number one, can I add process maps, which is very interesting for the people out there, afterwards to an existing vault we were using probably for years? Is that possible?
Yeah, so actually that's what we designed it for. So you shall add it afterwards, so it's not the first thing that when you implement a new vault that you start with process maps. So it's an add-on, so it comes
as the name says,
a second row in many cases, and it works best when there is already some data that you can use. So if you have already objects for like your sites, your departments, the people, the roles, things like that, when you already have that in your vault, you can use that for drag and drop. I will show that in a second when we look at the software. So
it's great news for the people out there. So
and existing vaults, definitely yes, and I think that's also a good tip for people not to overdo think of this as a super complicated thing. Just start with a home map and maybe some hub level maps for specific use case within the vault, and that's it. Just start with something simple and just get going, and you will see how it flows after a while.
Well, you just said it. Why not just get into it? Can you give us a brief overview how to create a new map from scratch?
Okay, let's do that.
Can you show us in a short demo? Just
okay, let's do that. So
fantastic.
Let's open M-files process maps. So let's open a vault, and let's as a result, you see here is the M-files coming up with a home map, for example, which allows us to dive into the three pillars that we have just mentioned. So this is a sample vault. But let's create a new map because that is what you asked. So go ahead, use the plus button, create a new class map class, select the class, which is I will do a flowchart, for example, and I can use a template for that purpose. So let's use this template and give this a name. I will call this test and press create. And now I have created that object, and I can double click it, check it out like any other document, right? It works the way M-files is designed. And then I have my design environment opened, in which I can now use drag and drop to create my map. I have access to the different elements that I can use to draw connections between the different elements, right? I think you get that idea how
Yep.
that goes. I have access to a storage, for example, for elements that I have already created earlier. Use them with the drag and drop, and this works pretty much like from PowerPoint or Visio.
It looks very user-friendly to me with a drag and drop.
Yeah, simple. You just drag and drop the elements, and so just in terms of the overall idea, from the top you have drawing tools, right, where you just draw elements, and you can say, okay, I want this to be in a different color or whatever, right? Then from the left-hand side, I have access to the views of my mFiles vault. I can, take a view. Let's go to the resources view, for example, and here I have departments, IT systems, and the like, and I can just, take an element and throw it onto the canvas, and that creates buttons that I can press afterwards to jump into that specific view, for example.
Okay.
Right? And I will just, select that and maybe change the design a little bit, go with a cornered design, and maybe have a shadow in light gray behind that, and maybe a little bit of a blur effect. All right, so this gives me some buttons, and I can, just put them somewhere. And yeah, access to the views, or access also to documents.
Okay.
I can, for example, let's search for a document on SQL. Maybe we have something in there. There we go, licensing file. I can drag and drop that over, and when I drop it onto the canvas, I receive the notation that I'm in. So right now we are working in flowcharting, and flowcharts have a blue document symbol. So when you take a document, you get a blue symbol automatically. So that is working with the documents or the objects in the structure. When I, for example, take a department, let's look for persons, or do we have departments here? And when, let's say, the IT department, when I throw that onto the canvas, the outcome is a lane, right? We have lanes where we have different, let's say, departments working together. And so we say, okay, I have, a process or some data here, and that's going to be connected to some manual input there. And this is how you work. So the objects have a representation that is, visually, shown here right away.
And I agree, it's very visual, and that's good for me.
Yeah,
it is.
That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah. So this is how that works. Yeah. How do you create maps? You work with existing content. You just double-click elements and start writing. So it's simple to work with things like that. So very easy approach. Cool.
Lars, let's get to the next point. This is very impressive, I have to say, and it seems to be quite intuitive. When you were speaking about the evolution of the product over the years, you mentioned smart nodes. Can you give us an overview, a quick one, what they do and how they can be used?
Smart nodes, yeah, well, that's one of the ideas that the later versions of process maps brought are these smart nodes. Smart nodes, the idea is that you have some logic applied to a view. For example, here, what you see here what you see here in the middle of the screen, that is a smart node displaying the content of a specific view. So the view has 56 objects of different classes, and here you see a graphical representation of that content. So when you have new vendors showing up in here or something, they show up here right away. And when I hover over, any of these subcategories, I can search, or I can add, open that object, in 360 view with just one click. So things like that, very easy to interact with. And those smart nodes are, let's press Control 0 to see the whole thing. Those smart nodes, here we go. Let's zoom into this one. That smart node here, for example, shows us the content of the a specific view also outlined in different classes or types. And when I want to interact with that information, I can do with just one click. So yeah, easy to do, easy to handle, and the smart nodes also provide information. Shown on object basis or on view basis. That's what we have here. And if we go, let's go back to the very beginning here. Let's click a view where we have some interaction in there. This is the view for employees. When I select an employee, for example, that now shows us a smart node of the employee. Without programming, you have access to the image of the employee, the metadata. We have smart nodes here for the display of the workflow. We have smart nodes that allow you to interact with the content, create visual menus. We have seen smart nodes that show us the content of a specific view that is related maybe to that person. Or you could have also smart nodes to look at the documents on a specific workflow and create a chart or funnel diagram, things like that.
So it's a full overview of what he worked with. And
that's what we call workload charts. So
Yep.
This is not business intelligence for thousands and 10,000s of objects or millions of objects. This is a couple of hundred objects. So what you want to do in that week or what your team has to do this week, you have a quick a glance at what's going on with those workload charts. Yeah.
And you just walked right into it. You just mentioned yourself the workload dashboards is one of the 3 pillars. And what are the steps to create such a dashboard? Can you brief us?
Yeah, well,
very quickly.
We could create one ourselves. Let's once again go here and create a new process maps. Let's take I don't care. Let's take the EPC notation, event-driven process chains, and call this map test because I delete all the test documents afterwards.
Good.
Go to resend and double-click it, check it out, and then let's create a simple dashboard just to get the idea across of how that works. So to do that, I will just go into the middle of the canvas and I will go into the smart nodes section. We have a library of, I think, 50 or so smart nodes which do interesting things. And there is a section in here called dashboards. We just, and you select smart nodes and connect them in a way. So I will go into the dashboard view here. Let's make room, and I will start with a root. So what do I want to query? That's the first thing. I will, for example, in this case, take the regulations. What do we have? Documents. Let's just pick the documents view.
Yeah, sounds good.
And then the next thing is we will add a filter. So we want to drill down a little bit further.
Okay.
And the system now asks us to say, okay, well, do you want to connect it with that other node up here? I will do that, and that's what we have here. Now we have the 2 connected. And now the third thing that I will do is I will add a chart underneath. All right, and move this, and I will connect that to the filter. And there we go. That's already what we wanted to have. Now we have a chart, we have a filter, and we have a visual representation in terms of the bar chart there. And let's maybe on top of that create a pie chart as well and connect this here as well. Select. And now that's already all I need to do. Let's, for example, drill down a little bit with this and make some room. And, for example, go with 2 of the class groups. That gives us less data, so we have a different chart. So that is how that works. So when I select additional class groups, I have more data, and that is represented in the chart kind of right away.
Well, thanks very much. That was a great quick overview. I appreciate it. And it looks really, really easy to handle. It's fantastic. So the last question, Lars, and I'll let you off the hook. So number one, what everybody outside there is probably asking themselves, how do they get involved with process maps? What can they do to get the full picture, deep dive into it? And where can they learn more?
Yeah, the easiest way actually is we have a large collection put into one spot, and that is the processmaps.software wiki. So website www.process-maps.software, and then you end up in this wiki here. It gives you videos, it gives you a full-blown documentation of all the aspects, some guided tours. There's an e-learning of 100 minutes in there that is free of charge, by the way. So you just go here to guided tours, and then you have here access to all types of videos, so you can learn about all the different aspects of the software, as well as see some samples, sample use cases, all types of descriptions. And when you want to use the software for yourself, there is also a download section down here called, what is it called? Latest releases.
Okay.
And downloads, there you have access to the latest releases, so you can install it. You will need a license key, though.
Obviously,
License key you get from your M-Files specialists, so they provide license keys, 30-day trials as well, so they have that available. And and if you don't have the license right away, go through the e-learning, because that really gives you already some good ideas, and look at the videos that we have there. So that's, I think, the best way to get involved. And if you want to send us information, feature requests or ideas or whatever, there is also
there's a section for that?
Support or get in touch section down here, where you can, get hold of us, send us some information, and we typically react, in 48 hours, so all fine.
Well, Lars, first of all, let me thank you, not just in my name, in the name of all the people out there. And it was a great overview. I have a much better idea about now, and all the people out there too. And any last words? Yeah,
well, I think we shall repeat that. I think there are other aspects that we shall spend some more depth, or some time in depth on. Maybe also, maybe we bring on Jonas here as well as an idea from downstairs, so that we have some interaction and get an idea of different aspects that we have not touched today. Cool.
Great. Thanks, Lars. Thanks everyone out there.
Cool.